What's going on, volleyball family? Kyle here from Does Kyle Dig It, the volleyball focused shoe review channel where we take signature and performance basketball shoes and review them for the sport of volleyball. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, a volleyball coach and a volleyball player with a very unhealthy shoe obsession. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Anta Kai 2s. As always, if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new shoe reviews that we've got coming down the pipe. As the club season here comes to an end and men's nationals is coming up here very shortly, I've got a whole bunch of free time coming up, so I'm planning on putting out a lot more content, trying to do a lot more shoe reviews and some more specials here in the near future. So make sure you get subscribed, hit that notification bell so you can make sure you know when all that stuff comes out. With that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into the Anta Kai 2s. Now, these are Kyrie Irving's second shoe through Anta, and they actually came in a real cool, snazzy box here that was real wild looking and everything, high quality stuff. So that was a nice little added feature there. I got my particular models in the Solar Return colorway. She's got that real, cool pattern and everything going on to them. I wanted to kind of match them up to my Kai 1 Speed that I got in the Tribe colorway. I thought that these were kind of a cool contrast on those. Now, if you watch my Kai 1 Speed video, you'll know I actually really liked those shoes a lot. Even being a small teardown, budget model from the actual original Kai 1, those shoes were really, really great performers. And so I was really anticipating these shoes and how much I was going to like them. So right now on the Anta website, these are going for $125 to $140 depending on which colorway you get. These ones were $125, but the original release model that comes with like the fuzzy laces and everything, those were a little bit more expensive. I think they're $140, and they also had a slightly different upper material, which we'll talk about when we break down some of the upper stuff. That being said, as always, let's go ahead and get started with that traction. So on these particular models, we've got a very, what I would describe as like a wild and chaotic traction pattern. A lot of different designs and grooves that are actually really thick, running a bunch of different directions on these shoes. And even on like the ball of your foot, you get this little heart here that has the Kai written on it. Not sure exactly what they're going for, but I'll tell you what, the traction works. It definitely stops hard on a clean court, and even on a dusty court, these performed really well. My dust pickup on these was actually very minimal, and because of the way that the grooves are set up, it's a really easy wipe. So traction on these for me, I would say 9.5, 10 out of 10. Really, really good stuff. Meets all the standards for what I consider a signature basketball shoe this day and age should be performing at as far as traction. I have heard that the translucent outsoles on some of the other colorways pick up a little bit more dust as some of the translucent models do. So make sure you're paying attention to that when you're buying and everything. If you don't want to have to worry about dust pickup as much, make sure you get that solid rubber outsole like on this particular colorway that I have here. Now, traction, 9.5, 10 out of 10. As we make our way on up, let's go ahead and talk about that cushioning setup and the cushioning support of this shoe. I will say there is no real wide outrigger here on these particular shoes. Instead, the actual rubber and pattern from the bottom of the shoe runs up in these 3 pods along the outside of the shoe to give you, I guess, that rounded support. I've seen this kind of style on other Kyrie shoes, even back when he was with Nike. I like the idea of it, and it didn't really bother me on court not having that big wide outrigger because the lateral stability and support of these shoes was actually still really, really high quality. That being said, the cushioning and everything of these shoes was actually what really sold them to me. And I will say the step and comfort of these shoes is not to be ignored. The only thing is that there are currently other shoes that came out this year that are just slightly better, which is why this one only came in at number 4 for my top 5 of 2025 so far. That cushioning here, we've got an EVA foam carrier that actually has N2 foam on the interior, which is like a nitrogen-based foam. It's supposed to be a little bit softer, a little bit more forgiving. I will say, step and comfort on these shoes was amazing. And because of the way that the really good heel to toe transition is on these, you've got this nice rounded shape here at the heel. and there's really a lot of compression in the heel. I mean, I can get the heel of this shoe to move just by pressing my thumb into it because of how much heel compression there is here. So step in comfort with that N2 foam, really, really good stuff. And then of course, inside on top of that M foam, we've got a carbon fiber plate that runs the length of the shoe to give you a nice little bit of bounciness. Now, this shoe is not the bounciest shoe that I have, but it definitely felt adequately bouncy on foot. What I've got in my notes here and the way that I would describe it on foot was these felt more smooth than bouncy. Everything was smooth about the way that I moved and the way that I felt these shoes felt on court, rather than being like super springy and like trying to propel me forward. Some of the other shoes, like, you know, GT Cut 3 turbos and things like that came out this year. The cushioning support is amazing. Step and comfort's really good. You do feel bouncy, but it's more of a smooth feeling, especially with that nice heel to toe transition that these have. Really, really smooth on court. Definitely liked that. Now, as we move our way on up the shoe, we get into the materials and talk about that lockdown and cushioning. You're standing on a nice foam strobe board, exposes a little bit of the carbon fiber plate and that N2 foam. Felt good on foot. Materials on the upper all feel really nice and high quality. That definitely was a big thing for me when I pulled this shoe out of the box. All the materials here, it feels really, really good in hand. And that's even for some of the models that are the different material for the upper, like the signature original performance model that they released has that different upper quality. I managed to get my hands on one from somebody who wore one a few weeks back. And even that material, just really, really, really good stuff. This particular model, nice and breathable as far as like the feel on the foot. And I'm not sure if that's because, you know, like the more mesh style material and everything. Don't know if that breathability would transfer over to the other colorways with the different type of upper, but these did have a good bit of breathability. They didn't feel like super warm on foot. Not the most breathable shoe I've ever worn, but you know, it did feel comfortable and it did feel like there was a good bit of airflow. Now, caging in all of that nice material, we actually have kind of like a plastic or rubber material that runs around the eye stays for the laces to give that particular area a little bit of extra sturdiness. And I think that actually goes a long way for the shoe of like keeping that lockdown and support really nice and centered as far as the top of the shoe is concerned. And it didn't bite into my foot because it actually is still very flexible and forgivable, that I didn't have any discomfort here. The tongue on these, not super cushiony, not like crazy plush, but it's got good material on it and it is cushiony enough that once you lace down these nice thick laces, it doesn't feel uncomfortable and it doesn't feel like it bites into your foot. And that continues around the ankle support here. Not crazy cushioning around your ankles. The heel here does have a nice big bit of plush cushioning, just like the Anta Kai 1 Speed had. I did enjoy that. I do like that support for my Achilles tendon. That was nice, but not crazy cushioning throughout the shoe. As far as that step and comfort goes, though, it is enough cushioning that you do feel really, really good once you get these shoes on foot. You get them laced down. There was not a long break-in period for them to feel comfortable. They just felt comfortable right out of the box. My heel always felt nice and supported. And even with this kind of material that's running up as like a heel stop, it's definitely a little like almost plasticky feeling and kind of sturdy. I didn't have any rubbing issues with that against my foot, and I've never felt it. So even though I was a little bit concerned with that design at first, I had no issues. Really, really liked the way that the shoe felt once I got it on foot. Now, wrapping up that upper material and everything, like I said, with the heel counter here and that kind of unique design to it, the heel counters on actually all the different colorways have different designs on the back of them. So that was kind of a cool design feature I felt like, you know, should probably be highlighted as we make our way on up the shoe. Now, that being said, I did go true to size in this particular shoe, and I feel like that worked fine for me. I didn't have any issues with the fit. It didn't feel overly narrow, and I felt like I had plenty of room in the toe box. If you really have big feet or like really wide, you know, feet or something like crazy feet, maybe go up half a size, but otherwise I think true to size is actually going to be an adequate fit for you 1-to-1. Now, average weight of my shoes is 12.5 ounces. These bad boys came in at 12.2 ounces, so pretty much average across the board. What I will say, as we wrap up the uppers and the lockdown and support of these shoes, I will say that it felt good, it felt great, everything felt adequate, and that's a word that I would use across these shoes. Nothing was amazing, nothing underperformed, right? Everything was just really adequate across the shoe, except for the cushioning and step-in comfort was above average, and the grip and traction on these was top tier, and that's why they made my top 5 list. They're just competing against a lot of really, really good other options right now, which makes it kind of like hard for them to put them in like a top 3 or something like that. But I really did enjoy these on foot, and I think for maybe like a larger player, like if you play middle, you're over 6'4", 6'5", right? You need a little bit of extra cushioning support, but you don't want to sacrifice a lot of things across the shoe. This might actually be a really, really great option for you, just because of how really nice that cushioning is, and the heel compression on these is really, really good stuff. But that being said, as far as the upper material and the lockdown and support is concerned, I'd give them about a 9 out of 10. So, wrapping up the shoe, traction, 9.5, 10 out of 10, easy on that. In the translucent colorways, might be a little bit of a different performance with the dust, but as far as the full solid rubber outsole is concerned, 9.5, 10 out of 10. That cushioning setup in these, again, 9.5 out of 10. Really, really good cushioning support. Almost maybe a little bit too much because of slightly diminished court feel, but still really, really great. That N2 and EV foam works together to make really, really good cushioning support. And then that upper material and our lockdown and comfort here is going to be probably a 9.5 out of 10. There's just, a few areas where it potentially could have been a little bit better, but the step and comfort of these shoes is not to be underestimated. They feel really, really good on foot. I definitely recommend them, especially for maybe like middles, right? If you're a player that's 6'4", 6'5", a little bit taller, right? You've just got a little bit more weight to you, a larger foot size, then that heel compression is going to be really nice for those middles. I think you'd be really, really happy as a bigger player wearing the Kai 2s. That being said, though, let me know what you think about the Anta Kai 2s down in the comments. Do you plan on getting a pair? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Let me know. And as always, please like and subscribe if you like this type of content. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any shoe reviews that we've got coming up for you here in the near future. But that'll go ahead and do it for the Anta Kai 2s. Coach Kyle does dig them. It's just that, spoiler alert, there's other shoes in the 2025 lineup that are even a little bit better than these. So make sure you stay tuned for those. But that'll be it for today. This is Coach Kyle signing off from Does Kyle Dig It?